Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu wasallam wa baraka nabina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, Instagram fam, friends and followers of as-Saafiy. And welcome to another episode of Revert Reflections. And we began yesterday's discussion talking about abortion rights and the perspective of Islam on the right to an abortion. Brothers and sisters, abortion is essentially the termination of the life of the fetus. So any discussion on the ruling, any discussion of the ruling in Islam regarding abortion should begin with the ruling on the sanctity of life in Islam. Life in Islam, brothers and sisters, is sacred. It is so sacred that killing one person in Islam is like killing humanity in its entirety. While sparing the life of one person in Islam is like sparing the life of every human being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Min ajli dhalika كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا." That is why we ordained for the children of Israel that whoever takes a life, except as a recompense for murder or a punishment for widespread criminal behavior, it will be as if he killed all of humanity. And whoever saves a life, it will be as if he saved all of humanity. And that is from Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 5th chapter, verse number 32. So this verse, brothers and sisters, it clearly shows that life is sacred. It's not just sacred, it's particularly, human life is particularly sacred. And human life, because it is sacred, Islam prohibits murder. Murder is defined as the intentional taking of an innocent life without legal authority. Every time a person takes the life of an innocent, a person who hasn't committed a crime, and the taking of their life has not been authorized by Allah and His Messenger, or His Messenger, then they are guilty of what? Murder. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He prohibits murder. He says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. Do not take a human life made sacred by Allah except with legal authority. From chapter 6, Surah Al-An'am, verse number 151. Add to that if that life was that of a believer, then the punishment is extremely severe, even more severe. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, the 4th chapter, verse number 93, He says, وَمَنْ يَقْتُلْ مُؤْمِنًا مُتَعَمِّدًا فَجَزَاؤُهُ جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا وَغَضِبَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَلَعَنَهُ وَأَعَدَّ لَهُ عَذَابًا عَظِيمًا. And whoever kills a believer intentionally, their reward will be hell, where they will abide indefinitely. Allah will be forever angry with them. He will curse them, and He will prepare for them a tremendous torment. And the scholars of faith, what's important, why this particular verse is pertinent to our discussion is because the scholars of Islam are unanimously agreed that all children, including unborn children prior to the age of maturity, all children are believers because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ الْفِطْرَةِ. Every child born is born upon fitrah, and what that means is they were born, every child born is born a Muslim and a believer. Every child, even the child in the womb, is a Muslim and a believer. And therefore, the killing of that child is the killing of a believer intentionally. Islam is especially keen, brothers and sisters, to protect the lives of children. And that is because the Prophet ﷺ, he was sent first and foremost to the pagans, the pagan Arabs, and the pagan Arabs were in the habit of killing their babies for various considerations. Sometimes they would kill their babies because they didn't like the gender of the child. Sometimes they would kill their babies because the fear of shame. Sometimes they would kill their babies because of the fear of poverty. And they would kill them for other considerations. But regardless of those considerations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was emphatic in the Quran about the prohibition of killing children because of what the future might hold. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ خَشْيَةَ إِمْلَاقٍ. Do not kill your children for fear of poverty, fear of what the future might hold. And that's from Surah Al-An'am, the chapter number 6, verse 151. Now these, brothers and sisters, are just a few of the religious texts that illustrate the sanctity of human life in Islam and prohibit the taking of that life without legal authority. But the question comes now, what is life? And when does it begin? We have to know this in order to determine if every abortion is akin to murder from the Islamic perspective. And so therefore we need to have this discussion about what is life and when does it begin from the Islamic perspective. And inshallah ta'ala, we will have that discussion tomorrow. Until then, brothers and sisters, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as always to bless your houses, to bless your spouses, to bless your children, to bless your source of livelihood and income, to bless what remains of your day, to bless you and make you blessed wherever you may be, to shower you with His blessings and to surround you with His protection. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.